Hey guys, a couple things before this video gets going. Understand, I am not used to talking to the camera, so you will actually see me a lot of time looking down here to the side. I'm making sure I'm on screen while I do that, because my laptop is actually just right here. I'm actually using a webcam. It's a really nice webcam, so I'm not going to be looking at the screen probably as much as I should. So I apologize for that, as well as if my voice comes off a little weird. I am actually heavily sick right now. The town I live in decided there would be no fall. We overnight just started winter, dropped like 30 degrees. I'm worried that some of the trees around our apartment have actually died from this. They're not looking good. So, yeah, I'm a little messed up, but I figured, hey, you know what? I'll still make a video. So, hopefully this video is tolerable for you guys, and you enjoy it, and maybe get some useful information. So, anyway, let's get on to the video. Greetings, programs, and welcome to something a little bit different. So, today I'm actually going to throw my hat in the ring with the whole talking about Dungeons & Dragons on YouTube thing, and I figured where better to start than actually how to start playing D&D. So, I'm actually going to run through two scenarios, because obviously the first thing you have to do if you're going to play D&D is find a way to play it. So, scenario one, you're going to go try to find a game. Where do you start? Obviously, you're going to want to go to your local gaming store or something. Hopefully you have one of those. And most places like that, especially if they sell Dungeons & Dragons stuff, will actually run, like, officially sanctioned, get to learn D&D games and things like that. So, hopefully, if you've got the store, you're already covered on that. And if not, go to Facebook. Make a post on your wall that you're looking to, you want to try this out, you want to do this. Or, look around. There's probably, some D&D, club groups or whatever that you can, send them a message and be like, hey, I want to try this out. There's someone who can help me. And so, either way, you found some way to play. What should you do first? And weird as it may sound, the first thing I'm going to say you should do if you're going to play D&D, lower your expectations. This is your first game. You should not expect something absolutely perfect and amazing, okay? You're watching a video, not a game, you're watching a video on YouTube about Dungeons & Dragons right now. There is a 99.9% chance you have watched Critical Role or something similar. And the thing you need to know is that table you're at is not Critical Role, or it is not D&Diesel, or whatever other, really fancy recorded D&D playthrough you watched. You're there, you're a different person, you're surrounded by other different people, there will be a different dynamic at your table. So come in with expectations to have fun and see how that table works. Don't expect it to work like, well, this guy, does it this way, or Matthew Koval, he said that he would rule it this way. You're not at their table. You're at Kevin's table, or you're at, Jason's table. Just flow with it and let that table be its own table. So, next thing, obviously, you found a game, you're going to get to play. What should you bring? A pencil. So many people show up to play D&D without a pencil. And you should not do this. Bring a pencil. You're going to need it. You're going to be marking down your hit points. Your stats are going to change. You're going to gather items. And yeah, you've got a phone. There's, tons of phone apps for running your character. It's still faster by a mile to just have a pencil and write it on your sheet. So, and if anyone wonders, I have a character sheet sitting right here. We'll maybe look at that in a second here. So, bring a pencil and bring some dice. If you're playing at your local store, buy the dice there. Okay, you know, they've set up the space, they've probably put together the event or something like that. Either way, support your store, buy your dice there. Dice are not super expensive. You don't have to go buy, you know, a set of full metal, 24 karat, you know, you don't have to go crazy. Just get some cheap plastic dice. You can get a set of, you know, plain colored Chessex dice for around $5. Pick up 2 even. And if, say, you're not getting to go play at a store, but, you know, you, on Facebook, you found a group or something like that, hit Amazon. This is just the D20s, but on Amazon, I got a set of, well, I got 5 sets of dice, so 35 dice total. Pretty decent quality for $10. So, pick up some dice. So you've got your dice, you've got your pencil, you know, just go and have fun. Now, scenario 2, you could not find anyone who's willing to, you know, start you out or something like that. So you're going to have to start this yourself. That's obviously very daunting. First thing I would say do, there's a series of multiple YouTube channels have series of, you know, Dungeon Master or, you know, role player, just tips for how to do it. Go watch a bunch of those, just kind of get a feel for how the game flows, learn about the social contract and everything. And then I would actually suggest go out and get both the starter set and the essentials kit. Wizards put these out. They run about $15 each, sometimes cheaper. Depending on which one you get, the starter set comes with a set of 6 blue dice. They're okay. It's missing the percentile, which bugs me, but it's whatever. And if you get the essentials kit, you'll actually get quite a few more dice in this kind of cool looking clear red. They'll actually come with the full 7, but then you also, it comes with like an extra D20, so you can roll 2 D20s at once. It's got a total of 4 6-sided dice in it, which, especially if there's a spellcaster around, you're going to need a lot of D6s. So, pick those up. And, obviously, find some people to play with. You know, you might even be able to split the cost of everything if you do it that way. Because just a couple sets of dice, those two boxes, you're only looking at maybe around $40 to $50 to get everything. And compared to what most board games cost, that's not much. And if you're anything like me, I actually started collecting dice before I ever touched D&D, which means if you find out that you're like that, hey, you've got dice as a consolation prize. So you really have nothing to lose. So, and because I know it's going to be asked, you know, what's the differences? Other than the dice, in the starter set, you're actually going to get several, I think it's, yeah, you get 5 different pre-made character sheets. So you don't even have to make your character. You literally just, like, write your player name in the corner so people know whose character this is, put the character's name in the other corner, and you're good. You just start playing. But since a lot of people, you know, don't care for that, if you go for the Essentials kit, you'll actually get, I think it's a total of 6 just blank character sheets, and you actually get the rules for character generation for, you know, lower level stuff. So, you know, if you want, so a lot of people prefer making a character, you can make a character. If you prefer just grabbing it and starting, get the start, you know, use the pre-made starter set characters. And another advantage to getting both of these is each set comes with an adventure. You get the Lost Mines of Phandelver adventure set in the starter kit, or you get the Dragon of Icespire Peak in the Essentials kit. And these stories actually both of these adventures are set in, like, the same central hub town. It's just, Lost Mines of Phandelver, you got a lot more, you know, point A to point B. It tends to be a more linear story. Dragons of Icespire Peak, a lot of this is just go to the tavern, get a quest, and go do it. So it feels a little more open sandbox style. So it's actually a good thing you get both. You can get a bit of a flavor for which style of play you like better. As well as you'll have two basic rule books that way, which will just make it faster if not everyone's having to share one rule book. As well as the major pluses, if you can only get one of these two, because I know Star Set has been out for a while, they might be phasing it out, I'm not sure, but get the Essentials Kit if you only get one, because you'll also get a double-sided map that's got, you know, Sword Coast on one side, and the village of Phandalin on the other side, which is kind of the main hub town. So you're going to want that, either one you pick. The Essentials Kit, unfortunately, is the only one that comes with that. As well as the Essentials Kit comes with, while thin, a Dungeon Master screen. And especially in 5th edition, with all the statuses and stuff, you're going to want your little cheat sheet here that's on the back of the Dungeon Master screen. Further still, because the Essentials Kit has just a ton of stuff in it, you also will end up with this box of cards. And in these cards, you'll actually have just like stacks of, you know, magic item cards. So when someone gets an item, they don't have to write it down. You can actually just hand them the card and be like, you have the Charm of the Storm. It does this. All its info is on the back. You have a Potion of Healing. That's all on the back. So you don't have to go through and explain everything. There are also sidekicks, which are a new thing. They actually let you play just one Dungeon Master and one player, and then the player has a sidekick. Or even in, you know, a group game, they can get a person who's going to help them and follow them, an NPC. You can use the sidekick generation rules, which are actually only in the Essentials Kit, as far as I know right now, to just make a simple, straightforward NPC to follow the players and do stuff with them. As well as you get a stack of initiative cards. So they just say initiative on one side, they got a number on the other side. These are just really good for, you know, combat comes up, everyone rolls initiative, you went first, okay, here's the 1. You got the next one, okay, here's the 2, and so on. I'm the Dungeon Master, my monster's got number 3, so I'll put the 3 in front of me, and it simplifies things so much. There are also quest cards. So when you go gather your quests, you actually have just these little cards that have, you know, just the sum up of the quest. You can say, oh yeah, the quest for the Mountain's Toe is on there. And so you can grab the Mountain's Toe quest, you know, players can just read it, you know, you don't have to sit there and read out to the players, oh, the quest says this, or you can just hand it to them, they can read it, and you're done. And as well, in those cards, you also get status effect cards. So, while all the status effects are on the back side of the Dungeon Master screen, say someone gets petrified, you can actually hand them the petrified card, and they will understand, you know, what that means, how they save from it if they can, you know, how it goes away. So, obviously, there's a lot more stuff in the Essentials Kit. And on top of it, at least for right now, when you get the Essentials Kit, you get a code to get 50% off a digital version of the Player's Handbook, which is really nice to do. Now, I know that a lot of people will not, they'll tell you not to get the Essentials Kit or the Stars Kits or stuff. And if you already, like, sort of have an understanding of what D&D is, you know for sure you're going to like it, because, you know, the Essentials kit, I would say, get no matter what. It's actually just got a lot of nice stuff in it. The starter set, you can go online, you can get the Lost Mines of Phandelver adventure, and just be done. I don't know if it costs or not, but either way, you can get the adventure and just move on. But if you, like, already know you're going to like this, you're going to want to get the core 3 books. So, right off the bat, you want to get the Monster Manual and the Player's Handbook. And here we come to the one issue I have with 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. If you're the Dungeon Master, you know, you're the guy behind the screen running the world, you still have to have your own copy of the Player's Handbook. Because the Monster's Manual will tell you, this monster knows Fireball. Okay, what is Fireball? Well, you have to go look that up in the spell section of the Player's Handbook. So, they kind of dropped the ball there. But the good news, actually, the Player's Handbook tends to be pretty cheap, actually. I picked mine up for like $15 brand new. So, there's that at least. And if you can get the Dungeon Master's Guide. The Dungeon Master's Guide, it's not as essential to 5th edition as I've found it was for other editions. 4th edition actually had 2 volumes of Dungeon Master's Guide, because there was like the basic one, and then there was the higher level, more advanced one. So, and it had like a list of codes or symbols you could draw on your map, your custom map, so you knew, like, secret door, put this thing here. There's a secret passage here, put that there. There's a window here, put this here. You know, it had a lot of cool stuff in it. So, since most people will tell you that 4th edition is, you know, basically the devil, just look up, like, the 4th edition dungeon map key, or, you know, something like that. You should be able to find just a scan of that one page. You at least want to get that one page. But, you know, Dungeon Master's Guide, it kind of shows how to make your own stuff. It starts covering the rules for that. You know, talks about how to balance encounters more, which you really want to make sure you balance your encounters in this edition, especially. Gives you some basic world building and stuff, so it's worth getting, but, you know, you can buy the other 2 books first and get this one later. As well as, if you can, because again, this book doesn't tend to cost very much, get the Sword Coast Guide. This is, I think this was like one of the first real source books for 5th edition. It doesn't have a lot in the way of stats, but it's got maps, it's got towns, it tells you about the different races, their history, how they interact with each other a little bit. You get actually some stuff on, you know, setting up your own world. It gives you a little bit of info on, say you don't want to use the Sword Coast, you want to use Dragonlance, or Eberron, or Greyhawk. It's actually got some info on those too. It's got a little bit of extra options for some of the classes, there's a lot of good stuff in here, so you'll want to get this one too if you're just diving straight in. And, oh, how could I forget? The one side note, no matter how you're going to go play the game for your first time at the store or with someone, you know, just you got invited to their house to try it out, go buy yourself a mini. It actually makes a huge difference just how much you get invested, how much you actually care about the game when that little, you know, $3 figure, and for reference here, this is actually one of the official Wizards deep cut figures put out by WizKids. They actually come pre-primered if you want to paint them. Only thing I have to say about them is make sure you have glue handy, because they come with these little black bases. While the Dwarf Cleric here does stand fairly well, some of them have like really narrow and thin bases, so they won't stand unless you put them on their little piece of black plastic. And they actually all come in, the player character ones all come in 2-packs even. So, One for you and one to say thanks to the guy who's running the game for you. Or the other one I've got, this is a Reaper Bones figure. I actually swear by Reaper Bones. They're some of my favorites. There's the really high quality polymer. They're actually made out of a polymer that you can just, you just wash them off really quick, make sure there's no hand oil on them or something, and just paint them straight, which is really handy. But if you're going to play, buy your own mini really quick. Again, especially if you're getting to play at a store, between buying a pencil because somehow you just don't have a pencil, okay, well that costs, we'll say it's a nice pencil, so that costs you 25 cents. It's a mechanical pencil. Okay, you got that at the Dollar Tree. You spent $1 on that. You spent maybe maximum of $3 on your character, and you spent $10 getting 2 sets of dice. You've spent $14. You spent basically the same as buying a movie ticket, except you're going to get twice as long of entertainment out of it. You're going to be there for most likely 4 to 5 hours. It's worth the price of admission, D&D's not this crazy expensive hobby that's made out to be. Yes, the books can be expensive if you don't shop around, but either way, if you just look around, maybe use, D&D Beyond or Dungeon Masters Guild, get digital, PDFs of the books instead of buying physical copies, you can save a lot of money, you can get into it, and you can find out if you like this and have some fun. So, hopefully my rambling here has been a little bit helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Hey guys, something else that I forgot to mention, as you're getting into this, especially if you decide that you want to be a dungeon master more than a player, something you're also going to want to look into is actually getting either adventure books or campaign setting books. So, actually my big recommendation if you're going to get a pre-made adventure is Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd is one of the most classic, legendary adventures in Dungeons & Dragons. There's been a version of this that used to go by Castle Ravenloft. Like, every edition of Dungeons & Dragons has had some version of this. Even in 4th edition, while they didn't, directly have this adventure, they didn't make a lot of adventures for 4th edition, just settings. They still had, the stat block for Strahd. They had the stat block for all his unique minions, So, this is something that's in every version of the game, and it's very much worth investing in. Because this is kind of, if you're going to play Dungeons & Dragons at all, this is sort of your bucket list book. Because this is where you're going to get stories you can share with anyone who's played any edition of D&D. Because everyone, or most everyone, will have played some version of this adventure. And another nice thing about this adventure is it does come with, a lot of maps here. I'm not going to bother folding this out all the way. It's actually like twice the size of the map that I pulled out of the Essentials kit. But, it's got most of the towns. It's got, the castle of Strahd himself. And, yeah, this is actually just in the book. Pull it out. As well as some adventures, you actually can get Dungeon Master screens made just for that adventure. And especially for something like Curse of Strahd, I really recommend getting the official screen for it. Because, I don't want to show the back of this really and spoil too much, but it's got maps, it's got charts, all kinds of things unique to this setting. So, this is definitely worth getting if you get the book. I think I got this for $10 or something, if even that. There's a lot of adventures like this, though. Like Ghost of Salt Marsh is a good example, where this isn't so much just one overarching adventure or story. This is just a bunch of small stories. So you can use 1 or 2 into your adventure, throw them in there, or you can, run all of them in a row and make one long thing. Tales from the Yawning Portal is similar. I know there's a few others. I don't buy a ton of these books just because, you know, they're expensive. They're really expensive, and so I just kind of wait for Amazon sales and stuff, or, you know, maybe I can find a used copy at a local game store. But you're going to want to look into maybe getting just one or two of these books. You don't have to, you know, buy all of them unless you really want to. And again, since, like I said earlier, if you're on the internet, you're watching a video on YouTube about Dungeons & Dragons, you know about Critical Role. They have put out the campaign setting for Tal'Dorei, the main, you know, the setting that they use in Critical Role Season 1. And this book is awesome. It's got tons of stuff. It's got a whole bunch of reflavoring for, you know, a different world, so you can have a pretty different feel from playing in, you know, Sword Coast or whatever. It also comes with, you know, a pretty nice, you know, map of the continent. So you've got, you know, just a, you know, a pretty good feel for, you know, what's where and everything. These maps are just an absolute lifesaver for any dungeon master. So, yeah, get one of those. Either get an adventure or maybe just get a campaign setting. Wizards has their own official campaign settings too. You can get like the Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica, which that one did something special for me, I'm not going to lie. Ravnica was my favorite part of Magic the Gathering, and so actually getting an official Dungeons & Dragons conversion of the Ravnica setting, all the guilds, especially, you know, the Cult of Rakdos and everything, it's like, yes! So, and I'm sure they've got a couple more. The Sword Coast Guide book that I mentioned earlier is actually sort of a campaign setting. It's just, you'll also notice it's like half the size of the other ones, though, because it's actually based on, you know, the default world, more or less. I think Forgotten Realms is technically the proper term, but, you know, it's based on the default world for Dungeons & Dragons. So, you know, it doesn't have to explain as much. It doesn't have to re-theme the stuff that you already got out of the other books. But, again, you're going to want to look into those. So, something else worth mentioning, as for the books you're going to buy, there's a lot of these books like Xanathar's Guide or Volo's Guide, all of those. I really recommend picking these up because these are just like a bit of everything. Because you get some more creatures, you get some more player races, you get some more items, you get a little bit of everything in these. And you definitely want to pick up these as you can. So, as for which one to start with, go online, do a little research onto what's in each book. Each one has sort of a different theme. I'm a big fan of Mordenkainen's because I love the elvish things and stuff like that in it. Whereas Volo's Guide, you know, it's got more traditional monster stuff in it, and it actually lets you play as, like, you know, a goblin or a kobold or something. While it was only an NPC, actually one of my favorite characters I ever played as was actually a kobold cleric named Ember. So, you definitely want to look into these. So, throwing that out there. A little bit of an afterthought because it seemed obvious to me, and at the same time it's like, oh yeah, I'm making a video. I should probably make sure I cover all my bases. So, yeah.